Hi, welcome to the CrowdStrike Fusion SOAR integration app demo. We're going to walk through a few different use cases that you can execute right from within Fusion SOAR and protect your unstructured data. So first, we're going to take a look at the data security interface, no active alerts. So we'll go over to CrowdStrike, and we see here, I've already got it installed. The Superna Cyberstorage Incident Response application is installed. This would normally be deployed from the the templates once it's published. It's not quite there yet, but we'll walk through how this works. So once this is deployed, this creates all the APIs and the workflows automatically in your account. So we'll walk through scenario. So we've come over to the next gen SIM just to show how I got there. Next gen SIM, and I'm down here in the Fusion SOAR workflows. So these three different workflows appear automatically when the application gets installed. So I'll use a scenario where a user's account gets phished, and as a action, you would like to ensure that that user account can not access any corporate data. So let's go ahead and run that workflow. That's the user block workflow. This does have an approval process. You can see a view of the workflow right here. And I'll just paste in the user that I'm going to deny access to all corporate data. So this will submit, it will go and resolve the user's permissions, AD groups, all of that, look at all the shares across the infrastructure, and will deny that user access. But I've added approval step to make sure that it can't be done by just anybody. This will trigger an email. I'm just going to use the interface to do it. You can send an email, route the email to someone who's got approval on execution of this type of action. I have approve or decline. If I hit decline, the email will be sent to the approver saying it was declined. If I approve it, this will confirm that I want to proceed. So I'm going to go ahead and say lockout user as proactive step. So let's do that. I have SSH session. We're just going to see when the API calls get issued. So this has been submitted. You can see over here, it says in progress. I'm just tailing a log. We can also go back to the user interface. There. We can see the API request was processed. You can actually see Falcon on-prem. That's the user string from the Falcon agent that's running on-premise. And we now have a user that's been locked out. So now my data is protected. So you've done your triage. You've decided that that was a proactive step. You're going to go ahead and reverse this step. So let's see how we would do that. Go back to Fusion, and I'll start the other workflow. And there's an approval step. So I enter the username, click view, down, and I'm going to go ahead and approve, store user access to data. We can see that the request to unlock was received. I mean, look at the user interface, it's received. I can now transition this to mark as recovered. That exits and go back to a no alert state. And then I can mark my workflow as done. So that's two useful workflows that could be integrated to any incident response process where you're concerned that a user account could access data for any reason, and you want to ensure the corporate data is protected from that user account, from any machine. Now let's use a different workflow where there's a critical incident that you're responding to in next-gen SIM, and you want to take a precautionary step to create an immutable snapshot so that you could recover data if you need to. Normally, this would be getting on a conference bridge, finding out who in the storage team can go do this. But with the Superna Security Edition, this is how easy it is to protect your data during the incident response process. So I select this workflow, I execute it, And that's it. In this case, there's no approval step, and this is already executing. And that's all that's required to protect your corporate data. I click done, and that workflow is now completed. So this gives you 3 critical data protection workflows that can be used to integrate into existing workflows or any incident response process where data protection is a concern. And this is all under the Superna Cyberstorage Incident Response application for CrowdStrike.